Please tell us first about the ancient crystal skulls. For example, how were they used in ancient times of Central and South American civilizations? What was their function?
All right, thank you. Well, first and foremost, you must understand that some of the oldest ones go back much further in your history than the cultures to which you are ascribing those skulls. Where some of the original ones were discovered, where some of the more ancient ones were discovered in your present modern day age, was where the skulls wound up eventually, but that's not necessarily where they originated. You follow?
Yes.
The idea is that these skulls go back, many of them, to 13, 17, 25, and even 30,000 of your years ago. You follow?
Yes.
And were present in what you call the culture of your Atlantis. Thus then, many of them later on were exported, were taken, were transported to other locations on your planet. Some of them very specifically to what you call your North and Central and South American continents, which were very close in proximity to the western portion of the Atlantean Empire. Thus then, when the Atlantean Empire began to dissolve, began to break apart, many of them, along with other things, were transported to safer locations, and the culture thus then was continued, and the rituals and the interactions with these devices were continued in those areas for quite some time, up until around what you call about 10,500 BC, as you say in your counting, to about 7,000 BC, where utilization of these devices did begin to wane as knowledge of these devices was lost, as individuals, older individuals who were practiced in the utilization, the priests, the shamans, as you say, the scientists of the day who were practiced in the utilization of these crystal skulls, in a sense began to die out as the culture began to change, and as information, in a sense, was no longer handed down from generation to generation in the same way. Much of the practice and utilization of these devices was forgotten. There were a few individuals on your planet who maintained the knowledge, but found over time that fewer and fewer individuals were either interested in or capable of learning the practice of how to best interact with these devices, how to best utilize these devices, and so in a sense it is like a lost art form. To some degree this is being reclaimed today, but as you say, we will talk about that later. The idea, however, is that in Atlantean times these existed, and some of them were created even before Atlantean times. In the early days, before it was really a cohesive society, there were certain individuals upon your planet who would come together now and then to create new ideas, new ways of expressing intelligence and consciousness. And they were the ones, this community, 13 of them, 13 masters were the ones who each created one of the master skulls, and that's why you know in your legends, your stories, your myths, there are 13 master skulls, because they belong to the 13 original individuals, the 13 original masters, each of whom created a master skull.
What is the significance of the coming together of the 13 skulls?
Well, the primary significance, as we have just described, is that it is like the coming together again of the original 13 masters in terms of the collective energy that they brought with them in that congregation that was utilized in the creation of the original 13 skulls. So bringing the 13 skulls together recreates, in a sense, the original master vibration of the original meeting, the original creation of the skulls, and is a very powerful state.
Is that reflective of a certain state on Earth when that actually does occur?
It is representative of the idea of pure transition, pure transformation, the idea of the unlocking of old realities and allowing them to go into full neutrality interdimensionally, so that you can then recrystallize in that neutral state whatever vibrational pattern you believe is representative of the dimension or reality or shift that you prefer. So bringing them all together allows for a true unlocking, a true neutralization of your reality vibration, so that new vibrations can be imposed in, can be brought in, and that a new reality can be recrystallized from the neutral state that is created by bringing all the master skulls together. That is why the number 13 in your society is regarded as a transformational number.
Now, when these skulls were created, how were they carved?
The originals were carved in a variety of ways, but primarily a technique was used of vibration. When the 13 masters got together, they had practiced the ability of creating certain sounds, sometimes with their own bodies, sometimes with certain instruments, that when these sounds were created, certain other crystalline devices would vibrate very rapidly in the presence of these sounds. And by vibrating very rapidly, they could actually be used as a type of cutting tool on the master crystals and shape the master crystals, not in the same way that your society does through the idea of striking or cutting, but by the idea of very, very fine molecular manipulation through the idea of sound vibration with these other crystals that would be passed over the master crystals and allow the molecules that were not needed to be cut away and shaped through sonic vibration. You understand?
Yes. Did each skull have its own unique purpose and or intent?
They all have the same basic function and purpose, but each does have a unique signature that is representative of the master that created it, and thus has a unique quality that is also representative of that master. You will find that these things have a lot of similarity to what we recently shared with you regarding the sacred circuits and the qualities that those circuits represent. So you can refer to the idea of the qualities that we delivered with respect to the sacred circuitry diagrams, and you will find that many of these qualities are like unto the qualities or the symbols or signature frequencies of the 13 master skulls, such as transformation, such as expansion, such as balance, such as manifestation, and so on and so forth.
How were these 13 individuals chosen?
They chose themselves. The idea is that it was recognized that these individuals simply used synchronicity to bring themselves together because they all had a common dream. Even though they were in remote locations from each other, they all had a common dream that told them how to find each other, and simply found each other through that dream, coming into physical reality, using the information in the dream to search each other out and find each other through synchronicity. You understand?
Yes.
They met in the dream level then. They met in the non-physical world and created a template, a crystalline pattern that would allow their physical minds to dream the necessary dream so that they would be capable in waking state to find each other through the remembrance of the dream.
And their purpose in coming together, were they consciously aware of what they were creating?
Because what they knew is that they were being given a gift from spirit, a gift that would aid and assist the cultures of the time, the people of the time, that would be that which would allow for great ease of connection to spirit, great ease of transformation, great connection to the idea of source, and great facilitation with regard to the shifting of your reality experience in the physical world. So they were given this gift, this idea from spirit, and in that sense manifested it in physiological form to be representative of a key, a master key that would allow for great fluidity and malleability of physical reality and manifestations that were desired upon the earth, to bring down higher energies into physical manifestation, to ground those higher energies like a circuit into physical manifestation and materiality. Do you follow?
Yes. And once they all came together,
yes,
what happened after that?
They each brought with them their raw master crystal. And thus then, through many, many, many days of meditation, many, many days of a shared and combined dream state, did they thus understand exactly what needed to be done with these crystals and how they were to be shaped. And they received this information from non-physical guidance.
Once they had actually completed imbuing the skulls and
Yes.
creating them.
Then they carry them back to their own locations in the world, each to a different culture, but in that they were all together at the beginning. They are also keyed to each other. So no matter how far apart physically they may be, there is always some connection, some linkage, some vibration. Now, because of the nature of physical reality being what it is, physical proximity does still tend to amplify and focus the energy of the 13 master skulls. But even though they may be separated by great distance of thousands of your miles, nevertheless they are still interconnected, though not necessarily as strongly, or shall we say, as in a focused way, or for a particular focused purpose as they are when they are all within physical proximity to one another. Nevertheless, being dispersed throughout the world, they were still able to, in a sense, maintain a link with each other, and individuals could communicate with each other in different locations through these skulls. You understand?
Yes.
They would tap into the skull in a meditative state on different places at different times that were preordained, prearranged in that sense, and thus then at these prearranged ritualistic times was information shared and downloaded into the skulls and through the skulls to the other skulls and to the other individuals around the world, so that all could stay in touch and know what was going on in different places, and that also they could coordinate different acts, different efforts. This is why you find that around your world the idea of the Great Pyramid and the Pyramid of the Sun and other structures around the planet that were all created about the same time were all coordinated at the same time, and why there are so many similarities in some of these cultures. You understand?
Yes. Once the crystal skulls had been taken to various parts of the planet,
Yes.
historically, what then occurred to bring us to the present day where the crystal skulls are separated and many of them have not yet been recovered?
Well, there were many, many different kinds of changes that have taken place, of course, upon your planet. Sociological changes, physiological changes, energetic changes that caused cataclysms and catastrophes and all sorts of other kinds of upheavals, even sociological and even physiological and even mental and even psychological, that would cause individual cultures to forget about these things. Sometimes they were even literally buried under cataclysms and long forgotten because they could not be recovered, because many civilizations have been wiped out by many different means over time. And the idea is that a remnant of these ideas always survived, but not in a coordinated way after a time, because of the many changes that took place upon your planet. But now, in your transformational age, you are all awakening, you are all remembering, you are all remembering that these things existed, because you are drawing upon the awakening of your consciousness, and so you are tapping into these ancient memories, because memories are created in the present. Everything exists in the now. So all this information still exists and is still accessible right here, right now, and as you awaken and as you broaden your access and your sensitivity to the idea of information from spirit, you are remembering and also thus then rediscovering physically some of these master skulls, because remember, everything that happens in physical reality is a reflection of changes going on in your individual and collective consciousness. So as these awarenesses awaken within you, so too will many of you synchronistically discover some of these ancient skulls, or, as you said, contemporarily, will be driven, will be urged creatively, artistically to make new skulls as a representation of the vibration of these original master skulls, to reflect this idea being brought back into your mainstream contemporary culture now. You are recapturing, remembering an old idea and making it new again, to disperse that energy throughout your planet, to again allow you more ease of unlocking from your old ways, your old beliefs, your old patterns, your old habits, your old ideas, and to give you that neutrality that is like the crucible melting down the crystal into liquid form, so that you can imbue within it the essence, the qualities, the attributes that you prefer, and allow it to cool and crystallize once again into a new reality. That is the overarching symbology for the collective consciousness. Do you follow?